Welcome to the Parsha Perspective. Each week, we will delve deep in a weekly Torah portion to find a practical and insightful way to enhance your daily life. Thank you for tuning in. My name is Rabbi Shalom Yamini, and each week we will look into the weekly Torah portion to find practical and insightful ways to enhance your daily life. This week's Parsha Perspective is in honor of our homeland, Eretz Yisroel. HaKadosh Baruch Hu, may God continue to protect our brave soldiers, and may God return all the hostages from Gaza immediately. This week's Parsha Perspective is in loving memory of Shlomo ben Edward, Erev ben Efraim, Galya Margalit bas Shimon, and Yirachmiel ben Gedalia. May their souls be uplifted, and may their memory be a blessing. Before I begin, this Shabbos has a special name, Shabbos Chazon, the Shabbos of Vision. And we read a special haftarah beginning with the words Chazon Yeshayahu, the vision of the prophet Yeshayahu. And the prophet, the Navi Yeshayahu, warns of the destruction, but also points towards the Geula, towards the redemption. And his message is not about what was lost, it is about what will be rebuilt. And according to many, every single soul, every single neshama, is shown a glimpse of the third Beis Hamikdash, the Shabbos. And it's not just a memory, but a possibility. We are being reminded and shown that no matter how broken the world may seem, we are not created to mourn forever. We are created to return, to rebuild, and to see the world made whole once again. This week's Torah portion is Parshas Devarim, words that build. Our Parsha begins Sefer Devarim, the fifth and final book of the Torah. And with just 37 days left to live, Moshe Rabbeinu gathers his people for his final address. And this is not just a farewell, it is a charge to a generation standing at the edge of the prophecy given to Avraham, Yitzchak, and Yaakov, standing at the edge of the promised land. Moshe Rabbeinu gives them the foundation to build a life of holiness and purpose, and ultimately to build a home for God in this world. Moshe Rabbeinu speaks of the crushing burden of leadership, and how he appointed judges and leaders over each tribe to help him carry the load. He recounts the tragic story and report of the spies and the generation that was lost because of it. He recounts the wars with Sichon, Bashan, and Edmor, and the long desert path that has brought them to the threshold of their destiny. Moshe concludes the Parsha by delineating the borders of the territories granted to the Shvatim, to the tribes of Reuven, Gad, and half of Manasseh. He repeats their obligation to cross the Jordan River and to fight alongside the Jewish nation before returning to their land. And then he encourages his successor, Yeshua ben Nun. And he will be leading the Jewish people into Israel, and he prepares them for battle. He says, Lo tira'um ki Hashem Elohechem, hu hanochem lachem, do not fear them, for it is the Lord your God who will be fighting for you. However, a question comes to mind. The Parsha opens with the words, Eileh haDevarim asher diber Moshe al kol Yisrael. These are the words that Moshe spoke to all of the Jewish nation. But why this introduction? Why not simply say, and Moshe Rabbeinu spoke to the Jewish people as the Torah often does? What makes these words different? Why does the Torah pause here, as if inviting us to pay closer attention to what is about to be said? Rashi, Rav Shlomo Yitzchaki, the leading Torah commentary, gives a simple explanation. And he explains that this pasuk emphasizes how Moshe spoke these words to all of the Jewish people because everyone was present. No one could later claim that they hadn't heard his rebuke. Moshe wanted full transparency. He wanted collective accountability, and this was not a private conversation. It was a national address, spoken with love and with urgency. Moshe Rabbeinu didn't shy away from the hard conversations. He faced the people directly, with clarity and with care. His rebuke was not meant to embarrass, but to awaken. Not meant to berate, but to prepare. And these final words was his way of making sure that the people would enter the land of Israel with open eyes, with honest hearts, ready to build God's lasting home together. However, the Lubavitcher Rebbe, Rabbi Menachem and Lushnerson, gives us a deeper and more profound explanation. And he writes that the opening words, Eileh haDevarim, aren't just words. They mark a transformation. Until now, Moshe Rabbeinu has served as a direct channel for God's speech, transmitting the divine word exactly as it was given. But here something changes, the Rebbe writes. These are Moshe's own words, spoken from his own understanding, his own pain, and his own love for the people he has led out of Egypt, and yet they were no less holy. On the contrary, the Rebbe teaches us that God has elevated the words of Moshe Rabbeinu and made them part of the Torah itself, and they become prophecy, not because they were dictated to Moshe Rabbeinu, because they were spoken with truth. They came from a leader who fully internalized the mission of HaKadosh Baruch Hu and can now not only speak on behalf of God, but in harmony with Him. And this transformation is not just historical. The Rebbe explains that Eileh haDevarim is not a relic, it is living, current reality. These words, spoken in the final weeks of Moshe's life, still talk to us today. They prepared one generation to enter the land of Israel, and today, they prepare us to enter the era, the time of redemption. They remind us that words spoken with love do not fade. When we channel our inner leadership, when we channel our inner Moshe Rabbeinu, when we connect to the essence of our soul and start to see the purity within every Jew, our words become timeless as well. And they awaken us to our role as a generation that will not just remember the promise of the Geula of redemption, but with God's help and mercy will walk it into reality, B'ezrat Hashem. This profound lesson from the Lubavitcher Rebbe is ever more relevant as we are in the midst of the 9 days about to approach Tisha B'Av, the 9th of Av. We are in a time of mourning, not just for what was lost, but for what must still be rebuilt. The destruction of the Beis Mikdash was not only caused by foreign armies, it was rooted in something deeper. The breakdown of speech, the absence of love, and the loss of personal responsibility. The Beis Mikdash was destroyed because people could no longer speak to each other with truth, with care, and with love. And as we approach Tisha B'Av to fast, we are not just remembering the tragedy, we are called to respond. We are asked to become builders, not through force or miracles, but through the power of sincere words and genuine connection. Our actions, when they are pure and come from the heart, they reach another Jew simply because of who they are. We don't just rebuild in theory, we rebuild in spirit. And ultimately, in our homeland, in Yerushalayim, before the 9th of Av, on Sunday, a forever home, a Beis Mikdash for God. Before I end, I will quote the Baal Shem Tov, the master of the good name. Every Jew is a letter in the Torah, and when one is missing, the whole scroll is incomplete. May we merit the rebuilding of the third Beis Mikdash this Shabbos before fasting, as we can celebrate the rebuilding of the Beis Mikdash in Yerushalayim together as a nation. Have a great weekend and a good Shabbos and a meaningful Tisha B'Av. Thank you for tuning in to the Parsha Perspective. Check out our website, theparshaperspective.com. Send thoughts and comments to theparshaperspective@gmail.com. Till next time, thanks for listening.